Today, I want to talk a little bit about clutter. Now, when I hear that word, it feels like heavy and overwhelming and daunting, just daunting. And normally, when I think of clutter, I think of physical clutter, the clutter on a kitchen table or the junk drawer that's growing its own junk in the drawer. Those are what I think of when I think of clutter. But there's also a different kind of clutter, and that's mental clutter. Those are things like a whole bunch of things on a to-do list that you just seem like you're a hamster on this wheel and can't get off. Or maybe it's you're stressed every single evening because you don't know what's for dinner. And though it's not like a physical thing you can see, it's just this repetition of, I have to go through this again. That is what mental clutter is. My friend, I want to walk you through some ways to clear the clutter, whether it is physical or mental, and give you some actionable steps. My name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, Quiet Confident Woman. My passion is truly building confidence in women, especially introverted women. And I love supporting you in creating systems that are simple, that bring you joy, and work. Oh my heavens, they have to work for you. So if you don't already receive my emails, you're going to want to check out the link in the notes below and jump on board that. Emails once a week that give you actionable steps you can take to create a more peaceful life. And then if you love what you hear, make sure to like and subscribe. All right, so now that we're aware that there's two different types of clutter, there's physical clutter and there's mental clutter. The first step we want to take when we want to clear the clutter is to list everything that feels cluttered or overwhelming in our life. So let me give you some examples. For physical clutter, it may be the kitchen table. It may be that it's a mess and it continues to be a mess. I'm going to teach you how to stop the cycle. And then also it could be that junk drawer. It could be a closet. It could be the garage, the basement, anywhere you feel like there's clutter when you physically look at it that bother you. Definitely add that to the list. And then think of mental clutter, the things that maybe as you go through your day, and you might need to take a couple days just for these to pop up, but as you go through your day, what is it that you just dislike the whole repeating of? So let me give you a couple examples for this. One, it may be your meals, like I had mentioned earlier, where you just get to 4 o'clock, you're just about done with work, you know you're going to get home and people are going to be like, what's for dinner? And you're like, I have no idea. I am not a cook. I don't know how to look in the fridge and pull things together. I'm like, I have no clue. And truly, that was my life at one point in time. And so I wanted a system that would prevent me from having to go through that cycle every single day. Maybe another place where you aren't even, maybe it's not even something that you think you need a system. Maybe it's just a stressful area of your day or of your week. For example, mornings. It might be that you get up in the morning, kids are yelling, everybody's running into each other, you don't know which way you're going, and you're like, I just want to stop the morning chaos. I don't even know if that's a system, but I want to stop it. Write that on your list. All right, write that on your list. So the first thing, create a list of all of the places that basically bug you. Okay, now you have your list. So from that list, the next thing you're going to do is you are going to pick one thing, just one thing on that list that you are going to work on to clear the clutter. Now, you're going to work on it until completion, okay? So we're not going to start one thing and then start another and then start another and have 20 tabs open and then never finish anything, all right? So one thing, let me give you a couple of ideas of what is recommended, at least in my head, maybe not in yours, so you can pick different. But the thought that I have is to pick either something that is going to be the quickest. Maybe the junk drawer that's growing its own junk. You know exactly what to do. You just need to literally take 15 minutes to do it. You just need to pull everything out, throw it on the table, clean out the drawer, and then toss 90% of the stuff and put the rest back in. That would be something that will give you a quick win. It's simple. It's just every time you open that drawer, then it's going to be freeing. That would be a quick win. All right. So pick something like that. Or from your list, pick the thing that is going to make the biggest difference in your life. So maybe morning routine, and you're like, I don't even know how to go about doing it, but that is going to make the biggest difference in my life. It's definitely going to give more peace. It's going to start my day off right. It's going to get me in a more positive mindset. Kids are going to start off their day good. It is just going to be the place that needs the most work. So choose that. All right. So pick a place that is going to either make the biggest difference or give you a quick win, but just pick one. All right. The next thing is to create some small, sustainable steps to get you the results that you want. Now, the biggest thing is to know the results that you want. If it's something more of like a physical clutter, that could be very simple. It could be that you want to look in a space and not feel overwhelmed. Or it could be that you want to open a closet door and not have things pouring out at you, or you would like to close the closet door. But also, if you just pulled out a couple things and you're able to close the closet door, but it still looks like a hot mess and that's not really the results that you desired, go further. Because if you can close the door, technically you have achieved what you wanted to. But if that's not really what you want, and it's, yep, I want to close the door, but I want to look into it and know where everything is. So write that down. If it's something that's more of a mental clutter, maybe let's go back to meal planning. Maybe it's that you don't want stress figuring out what's for dinner. And so when you know what's for dinner, then that is gone, right? But maybe it's not so much knowing what's for dinner, but knowing you have time to make the dinner, or someone else is going to make the dinner, or whatever, however it happens to get done. But you know that there's going to be time to eat the thing that you planned for that meal. Figure out why you want to work on this in order to create those small steps. And then create those small steps. Let's do the closet. Okay, so maybe you have a shelf in your closet along the top. That is good. That's one step. You're going to clear that off and figure out what needs to come and go. You are going to maybe go through all of your shoes. That's another step. Then maybe you're going to go through dresses, and then you're going to go through shirts. Like, you're breaking it down into small steps. So basically when you look into the thing that you're going to declutter, you are not stuck like a deer in a headlight and have no idea what to even start with. It will give you a starting point and small steps so you can feel like you've successfully achieved something by marking off that step, by completing the shelf on the top, by completing something. Okay? So pick some small steps to get to that end result. The next thing is to be consistent. Be consistent. Now, this is not be perfect. Okay, so any of you perfectionists out there, I'm not saying to be perfect. I'm saying be consistent. So that can look like so many different things. It could look like you take 15 minutes every single day and you dive into that closet. It could be that you take 3 hours on one day a week and you dive into the closet. This is where it's really important to know yourself. If you know that you're going to work better taking a 3-hour chunk and you're going to accomplish a ton more, then go ahead and mark off a 3-hour time frame in your calendar. If you are thinking, I feel like marking 3 hours off will work good, and I've thought that in the past and it's never happened, Perhaps you need to start with just 15 minutes every single day, just 15 minutes. And it sounds like, okay, 15 minutes, like a closet. This closet that's overwhelming, how is 15 minutes a day going to even do anything? Well, if one of your steps was to clear out the shoes, you could pull all of the shoes out and maybe right away, two pairs that you're never gonna, like, you didn't even know they were in your closet and you have no interest in wearing them at all. They can go ahead and get donated or tossed. That will definitely take you 15 minutes or less. Then the next day, you can go through those shoes and maybe you try them all on. See what fits and what doesn't. See what feels comfortable and what doesn't. And make decisions based on that as to what you're keeping and what you're not. And then the next 15 minutes, maybe in my closet, my shoes are on the floor. So maybe because all the shoes are out, you vacuum the floor. That's what you do. And then the next day, you put the shoes back that you're keeping and realize that you have half of the shoes that you started with, which gives you a ton more floor space. So that took 4 days, okay? But you completed all of your shoes in less than a week. If you would have marked off 3 hours to work on it, could you have completed all of that in those 3 hours? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're comparing it to how long it took you when you had 15 minutes, yes, you certainly can and more. But if you are someone who doesn't set aside the time to do it and you always have good intentions but never act on it, would you have completed your shoes that week? Probably not. So know yourself and work with that. Work with that. That doesn't mean down the road you can't change it and be like, hey, I'm pretty good at setting aside 15 minutes. I'm going to set aside 1 hour twice a week now, and I'm going to do that. And it just sometimes is getting that momentum going where you can be consistent in a different way. So be consistent. All right, so now you have a cleaned out closet. Everything looks great. You need to figure out a way to make this system last. Remember, we don't want to be back here in 3 months doing the same thing over again and like having a whole bunch of pile of clothes everywhere and just going through all of the stress again. We want to figure out something that is simple, that can be done pretty much effortlessly. It's going to require some effort, but it really, once you get into the motion, it's like brushing your teeth. Does it require effort? Yes. Do you really have to think about it when you do it? No. So that is the kind of system that's going to last. So what can you do to keep this system intact? Maybe it's every time you bring home a new clothing item that is going in that closet, you get rid of one. Maybe it's you turn all of your hangers backwards, so you hang them up backwards. And then the next season, if you didn't wear those clothes, they're still going to be backwards, and then you're going to get rid of them. Maybe there's something else that you have that you will go ahead and implement in order to keep the structure in that closet long term. Now, the last and final step is, as that process is being implemented, what do you need to adjust to improve it? Maybe you had said, oh yeah, that's a really great idea. In my closet, anything new that I purchase, I'm going to take out the old. And as you're going through that step and you're finding every single month, you're needing to figure out what to get rid of, and it's stressing you out. It's like, oh my gosh, now I have to get rid of something. And so it's the cycle of I'm not buying anything because then I have to get rid of something, which may be okay for some people, but maybe for other people, they really need some new clothes and they just don't want to buy it because they don't want to have to go through the stress of getting rid of something every single time. So maybe instead what you're going to do is you're going to say, every 6 months, I'm going through my closet and I'm pulling out the things that no longer serve me and I'm leaving the things that do, in order to prevent your closet from getting the way it was when you just cleaned it. So it's okay to adjust things. It's okay to have to navigate them differently. I know when I had created a meal plan and put a structure around that, I had done the meal planning once a week, figured out meals for a week, made sure I had all of those groceries, and figured out what days I was having them, the whole works. And then the next week I did it again. And the next week I did it again. And I was like, okay, this is not my favorite task. I do not enjoy figuring out what's for dinner at all. Like, I still to this day do not. But I can tell you, I like the results of the system. I was able to go for 5 days without having to think about what was for dinner. It was literally stress-free because I knew what we were having for dinner. But then I was back having to create it and think about it all the time, every single week. I mean, some people once a week doesn't seem like a lot, but for me, it seemed like a lot. So I was like, I'm not doing this every single week. It's just not going to happen. So what I did is I was like, I'm going to create this once a month, and we're going to do a meal plan once a month, and I'm going grocery shopping once a month, and that's all. And that is what I do to this day. And let me tell you, it is a rockin' system, a rockin' system. And our lives may change, and we may need to change the system, even though it's been implemented for quite some time without change, and that's okay. But you don't know until you put something in place to know if it works. All right, my friend, I want to know what system you are going to tackle, what clutter you are going to clear, what are you going to put in place in your life. And if you are finding you need some kind of a system to clear the mental clutter, like how do I work through my to-do list? How do I organize my week? Like all the different things I have going on. How do I find more time in my week? How do I create a meal plan? How do I do all of these different things? It is my superpower, and I would love nothing more than to coach you through that. So if you are looking for a coach that is going to help you create a system that works for you, that brings you joy, that gives you peace in your life, please reach out. I would absolutely love nothing more than to support you.